Danielle Sofer. Thanks, Anya, for that lovely introduction there. You were one step ahead of me. I didn't realize I was up next. So.
I'll keep you on your toes.
Thanks. I don't know if I'm supposed to give this part away, but I guess I'll just start with this. I am one of those researcher people. So I'm a musicologist. And right about now, you might be wondering to yourself, well, what is musicology? But then you might think, oh, it's got that ology in it, so she must be pretty smart. And I am. No, but if you've heard of the word musicology, you probably heard it in that Prince song, you know, ooh, musicology, right? R.I.P. But actually, I don't think that's a really representative song about my profession. See, as Prince says, I don't have a single colleague that I can think of that has a PhD in advanced body moving. Body moving is probably the last thing a musicologist wants to engage in. We're like philosophers in that way, you know, we do all the work up here in the mind. Which can be problematic, body-mind problem. But more recently, I've really been struggling with this. If you can't tell, I'm about to pop out a baby any minute. So while I'm up here trying to sort of separate my mind from my body, I can't even walk into a place without somebody thinking to themselves, oh, she does sex. So, yeah, musicology. So what we actually do, we're the people who write books, articles about music. We are your university instructors. And if we're particularly ambitious, outside of doing comedy, we also do lectures, pre-concert lectures, they're called. So before you go up to a classical music concert, there's this person on the stage standing there and telling you, well, tonight we're going to hear one of the finest examples of music of all time. The last piece composed by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who left this earth when he was 35, much, much too young, long before he could have sullied our image of him with too many clickbait posts on Facebook and 555 text messages in one day, each and every one of them signed with, yours truly, W.A. Mozart. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, so, you know, you're sitting in the audience and there's this musicologist rambling on and on about what year Mozart wrote this piece. Was it 1791? Oh, I don't know. And who finished that piece and who commissioned it and all this stuff. And then, you know, I was going to do this, but that's okay. So your mind starts to wander and you think to yourself, oh man, did I turn the oven off? And what about the wash? Did I move that into the dryer? Can't really remember right now. Oh, that blue sweater. Oh shit, where did I put that blue sweater? And then you look up at somebody and you realize the person in the front row is turned around because you've been opening your candy like an asshole really loudly for the last 20 minutes. And then you stop opening the candy and you say, wait a second, I know you. Did we used to date? No, that can't be possible. Oh my God, it's Mao Zedong. And then you look around and you realize, oh my God, it's 100 Chairman Maos all surrounding me and glaring at me. It's about that time you wake up. You realize you've dozed off because the fucking musicologist is still talking about Mozart. So, yeah, musicology is an interesting profession. Aside from those kind of really dull facts like, did Mozart know he was going to die when he was writing the Requiem? We're also a kind of a scandalous bunch. We're really interested in finding out the details of a composer's life, especially through private letters that they probably never intended anyone to read. And probably a musicologist's favorite thing is a juicy love scandal, right? So you probably didn't know that Mozart had macked it to all of his wife Constanza's sisters before they settled down. Or Brahms had an affair with his teacher, Schumann's wife. And don't even get me started on Schubert, who was gay, and we already heard in the last set that that's forbidden in many countries. But he was also involved in male prostitution and orgies and all those fun things, which brings me to my specialty, which is sexy music. Yes, you heard me right. I try to research music that is supposed to be sexy, and then I tell you why that is. So, no quicker way to dry up your libido than explaining what is sexy about something. No, but outside of composer biography, there's a lot of different ways that we can sort of research sex in music. So for example, you might remember that song by Donna Summer from 1975. I love to love you, baby. I love to love you, baby. I love to love you, baby. And then she starts going, oh, oh, oh. Right? Pretty obvious what's going on there, I would think. But this is a funny story about this song. So she's making this demo with Giorgio Moroder, you know, from Queen and from Daft Punk producer, and they call up this other producer, and they play him the demo over the phone, and he just happens to be at this orgy, you know, as you did in the 70s. And he's like, yeah, all right, keep playing that. And he goes off and he's doing whatever he's doing, but he comes back 3 minutes later, now play it again. And this keeps happening over and over again, and then he has this brilliant idea, and he says, okay, instead of a 3-minute song, let's turn it into 20 minutes, right? And how did he do that? So he stuck all these pieces of tape together, and that's how we invented electronic looping. Second fact of the day. But actually, sexy music is a lot older than the 1970s. If we can go back to one of those classics, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Hopefully many of you are familiar with this, but in case you're not, I'll refresh your memory. So it starts off with a little melody like this. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. 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 Ba. Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. I'd say, yeah, all those fuddy-duddy, gray-haired musicologists give Beethoven a 10 out of 10 for getting their juices flowing. There's an image you might get out of your head anytime soon. So, yeah, and that's the difference between classical music and popular music, right? The popular music is just like rips off its knickers and just lets everything hang out. And classical music, you gotta work a little harder for it. It's a little more subtle. You have to think deep thoughts. You start thinking and then you wonder to yourself, is this music really sexy, or am I just a freak? Don't answer that. But there's a danger in that, because you start thinking a lot more and thinking, and your mind starts to wander, and then before you know it, you've resurrected Mao Zedong, and you've reinstated the Chinese Revolution, and there you are at the National Concert Hall. Somebody's about to stab you because you're opening a piece of candy, and you find yourself dead, lying on the floor, bleeding out in the National Concert Hall. And that is all for the love of classical music. Thanks very much.